Hi, thank you for your time today, and thank you for bringing meaningful conversations to your team at Cincinnati Children's. What is a meaningful conversation? Well, to us, it really is how we do human. It's basic human connection, connecting in whatever way is meaningful to you. In this section, we'll go into more detail about what a meaningful conversation is, and in other sections, as well as this one, we'll provide more detail on tools you can use when training your employees. Meaningful conversations are almost a thing of the past. With technology, with texts, with all kinds of ways to communicate, we know that having a face-to-face conversation is really important. Having this human connection, whether it's with our patients, our families, or our coworkers, can really impact not only our bottom line, but our relationships ongoing. As I mentioned, meaningful conversations are how we do human. A lot of this was built on our care promises and our core values. As you can see, the foundation here are our core values. It's who we are. Our care promises are actually what we do. And lastly, on top, are meaningful conversations. And it's how we do it, how we can come together and do the amazing things that we do. This conversation scale ranges from a 1 to 5. When you think about a 5, a lot of people think a little bit more about a crucial conversation or something like that. A 1 is a little bit more like a, how was your weekend? Tell me about your holiday. How are your kids? Those kinds of things. When we talk about this scale, we talk about it from two different perspectives. If we can have a lot more of those 1s and 2 conversations, the ones that aren't high stress and those kinds of things, then we can have a lot more of the 5s, the 4s, and the 3s. Now keep in mind the other piece, where my 1 conversation may be completely different than your 1. A conversation like, hey, how was your weekend? Maybe a little bit more stressful to someone else, and maybe more of a 3 rather than your 1. So getting to know your people before you have this conversation is really important. When you're thinking about how your team likes to communicate from a 1 through 5 scale, as we've discussed, think about these 4 questions. How do they like to communicate? How does everyone want to get to know each other on the team? How would everyone like to get to know them? And lastly, how do they have a meaningful conversation? What does it mean to them? So when we're teaching this to our team, keep a few things in mind. First, start with the why. Help them understand why we're talking about meaningful conversations in the first place. And second, explain the who, what, and how of meaningful conversations. Who do you want to have them with? What do you want to have them about? And how would you like to have those meaningful conversations? The third piece is be ready to use past experiences, examples from both your work and your home life. Allow them to have a safe space to be able to talk about those kinds of things. On the placemat, there are areas that they can think about and write down their personal situations that they might not want to share. Lastly, keep your team involved by asking them questions. What does a level 1 and 2 conversation mean to you? What would a meaningful conversation mean to you? Third, please rate conversations you've had with family members or friends. And last, share examples of how psychological safety or actual trust was built over time. As managers, we're asking you to bring meaningful conversations to your teams and the teams across the hospital medical center. You should become more familiar with the Meaningful Conversations page on Centerlink before you train your team. We also have tools available for printing and distributing as you train.